Welcome, everyone. I am so glad to see your faces. Being compassionate is not always easy. Sometimes we have to take risks in order to ease someone's hurt or suffering. We can be brave to jump in, share, protect, and speak up for others. So help me finish these sentences about how people can be brave. So I want you to think of some ways that each person can be brave. So the first one is, Taylor is a lifeguard. When someone is struggling in the water, Taylor can be brave and
rescue them.
Rescue them. Very good. The next one, Sam notices the teacher never calls Kai by the name they prefer. Sam could be brave and speak up. Very good, Ben. Dr. Young hears people need medical care, but they cannot afford it. He can be brave and donate his time and help them. That's right. Very good. Sometimes our compassion helps us make brave choices, and when we do, look out. God's power can restore our communities, our friendships, and ourselves. Later, we will hear a story about some heavy lifting, a massive hole, and some neighbors who took a risk to help a friend. We will see how one act of bravery changed the community. As we prepare to learn more about brave compassion, let's begin with our compassion prayer. Place one hand on your head and one on your heart. We are doing this because compassion happens in our brains, but we often feel it in our hearts. That's right. So repeat after me. Dear Jesus.
Dear Jesus.
Your compassion always looks like courage.
Your compassion always looks like courage.
Strengthen our hearts.
Strengthen our hearts.
With your bravery.
With your bravery.
As we risk.
As we risk.
Reach out.
Reach out.
And lift up our siblings near and far.
And lift up our siblings near and far.
Help us to keep our eyes on you.
Help us to keep our eyes on you.
Amen.
Amen.
So today's song is about being brave. It doesn't mean you won't feel scared too. It's okay to feel scared, but God gives us compassion, so we will feel brave enough to make choices that ease the hurt of others. And we can always, always, always ask a grown-up to help. We can be a team, just like you are as a family, and show compassion. So everybody out there, stand up and join us as we sing today's song called Brave Enough.
We are brave enough to love. Let's sing together. We are brave enough to love. We are brave enough to show compassion. We are brave enough to listen and tell the truth. We are brave enough to love. We are brave enough to show compassion. We are brave enough to listen and tell the truth.
One day, Jesus visited someone's home. Everyone heard he was there. They were so excited to see him because they'd heard he healed and helped people be part of their communities again. A friend who was paralyzed had his friends take him to see Jesus. When the group got there, it was so crowded. There was no way to get to Jesus through all the people. They had an idea. They climbed up onto the roof of the house and made a hole in the roof above where Jesus was. Then they lowered their friend into the room. When Jesus saw their faith, he was encouraged. He told their friend, "I see you and I love you. You are made whole for your community. Your sins are forgiven." Well, some temple leaders called scribes were watching Jesus. When they heard him say this to the friend who was paralyzed, they were angry. They thought to themselves, "Who does Jesus think he is? Only God can say these things." Jesus could tell the scribes disagreed with him, so he said to them, "I know what you're thinking right now, but what's easier? To say, 'I see you and love you,' or 'get up and walk'? I'll show you that it's possible to do both." With compassion, Jesus turned to the friend who was paralyzed and said, "Get up, pick up yourself, and go home. You're healed now." He stood up, amazed. He picked up his things, and with his friends, he went home. Everyone was so happy they praised God because they had never seen anything like this before.
Good morning, church. Pastor Daniel here with a little bit of Bible study for you. Today we're talking about Mark chapter 2, the beginning of it, where Jesus heals a man who can't walk, a man who's on a mat, who's lowered into the house where Jesus is staying. Now, this story in Mark shows up in between a whole bunch of other miracles. It's like Jesus goes from one place to another, and everywhere he goes, he's trying to help somebody along. And this story of the man is a story about community. And that's really what separates this story from some of the other miracle stories. The man cannot get to Jesus. He doesn't have access to his Savior. Think about that for a second. And what his friends do is they go above and beyond. They don't just wait in line for their friend. They do something that's out of the ordinary. They climb up on the roof and they open up the roof and they lower the man down. Now, one of the fun facts about this particular story is that it shows up in Mark and also in the Gospel of Luke. And in Luke, the story is that the man is lowered down not because they moved aside like straw, but they moved aside tiles. So that in the Luke setting, which is Gentile territory, they don't have straw roofs, they have tile roofs. So the story is being retold in the context of the people who are reading it. And I think that's really important because the Bible never exists on its own. It always exists in context. And for us, that also includes our context. So this man is lowered through a roof based on your context. And in this story, he is healed, not only of his physical affliction, because a healing story is not just a physical healing, but it's also a restoration of one's personhood. It's being seen not as the disability, but being seen as the person that you were meant to be. It's sort of like Jesus is there to heal us so that we can be full in ourselves, the way that Christ is full in the resurrection. When we are healed by Jesus, we experience our best selves, and that person can be restored back into society. And that is the takeaway from this story, that when someone is healed, whether it be physical or psychological or emotional or spiritual, that person can then be reinstated into community. Just like how we start every single worship service with confession and forgiveness, so that we can be restored back to right relationship with one another. So, sisters and brothers, thanks for joining me on this Compassion Camp Bible Study edition, and we'll see you next week. God bless you. Bye.
Hey guys, and welcome to the week 2 Compassion Camp craft video. I'm gonna be talking to you guys today about letter writing and also how to send someone a hug in a new and fun way. So letters are something that I think are a great way to spread compassion and show God's love to other people. When my older sister went to college, I missed her a lot, and I would send her lots of letters, and they were a great way for us to connect and show that we loved each other. And during the time of COVID-19, I think it would be a great idea too to send some letters to people who are working extra hard to keep people safe and to make sure that people have everything that you need. You can give letters to friends and family, and you can put them in the mail and send them to people that you love, or you can give them to people at church. But you can also give them to people that you come across in the grocery store or in your daily life. So it's a really great way to show compassion and God's love. So I'm going to show you guys today 2 different ways that you can send someone a hug through a card or a letter. And for both of these ways, the way to start out is to make sure you first have all your supplies. So you need to have some construction paper, a pencil, some things to decorate the card with, markers or crayons or colored pencils, some scissors, and some tape, and then lastly some yarn to get started. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is trace your hand on a piece of paper using the pencil, and then when you have your hand all nice and traced, you can cut it out. I have some already that are previously cut out, so you want to trace it like that and have your hand cut out, and you can do that with both your left hand and your right hand so that you have both. And then I decorated my hand a little bit. Feel free to decorate it however you want and however you think other people would enjoy. And then now I'm going to show you the first way that you can use these 2 hands to make a letter hug card and send someone a hug through the mail. The first way is if you take some yarn, and we're going to take the yarn and we're going to cut it so it's about your arm's length, so it's like you're giving someone a hug. And then you take your hands and you can tape on the string. Give me a few seconds. And then when you send someone your hug, with the arms, the hands with the string attached, it can be just like you're hugging someone or they're receiving a hug from you. And so that's a first way that you can send someone a hug through the mail or give them a paper hug. And another way that you can do it is you can take a piece of paper and fold it kind of like 1/4 of the way through, so that there's kind of like these barn doors here. So you can kind of open them on both sides. And then what you can do is you can take your hands that you've already traced, cut out, and decorated, and you can tape those hands to the barn doors. And then give someone a card. And so then you open the doors and it's like, and you can write on the center, on the inside, something like, consider yourself hugged. So it's kind of like the message is in between 2 hands, just like how someone's in between your arms when you're hugging them. So it's another way to send someone a hug without having to get physically close, and it's also a very fun craft and a great way to show compassion to other people that we love. Hope you guys are doing well.
Welcome to Compassion Camp Yoga, everybody. We are going to spend this time in movement. It is really important that we think about our breath and our breathing. Remember that we all come from different places and our bodies might move a little differently. Do what feels good to your body. This ancient practice of yoga is a spiritual practice to connect our bodies, our hearts, and our breath. So please join me as we do our yoga practice. Welcome to the second week of Compassion Camp Yoga, everybody. We're going to start the way we are going to start. always, which is by breathing. We're going to do 3 breaths, and we are going to say a mantra. On the inhale, we're going to say, I am. On the exhale, we're going to say, brave. This is compassion's gift of courage and bravery that we are going to be embracing this week. So, please breathe with me. Inhale, I am. Exhale, brave. Inhale, I am. Exhale, brave. Inhale, I am. Exhale, brave. We're going to start our yoga practice standing in mountain pose. Mountain pose brings us strength and stability. Here we are unshakable. In this pose, make sure your shoulders are down and you're sending energy through your fingertips and your heels. Tall and strong like a mountain. From here, we're going to go into forward fold. We're going to lift our arms up over our heads and all the way over to reach our toes. We're going to bring our hands to our knees, and we're going to flatten our back into tabletop position. You can bend your knees a little bit here, and we're going to look forward. We prepare and focus our eyes on what is ahead of us. And we're going to come all the way down. We're going to plant our hands, and we're going to take 2 steps back into plank pose. From here, we're going to lower all the way down and lift up into upward facing dog. We face the sun and welcome with courage what today will hold. From here, we're going to tuck our toes and we're going to send it back into our first downward facing dog. We're going to take our right foot and step it between our hands into a low lunge. We're going to raise our upper bodies and our arms towards the sky into Warrior One. In Warrior One, we feel focus, power, stability. We are strong and we are brave. Slowly, you're going to bring your hands back down by the sides of your feet and step that right foot back to meet your left and meet back in downward facing dog. Take a couple of breaths here. Then we're going to take our left foot and bring it up between our legs, just like on the other side. We're going to lift our upper body and our arms in Warrior One. In Warrior One, we are focused, we are powerful, we are stable, we are strong and brave. One more breath, and bring your hands back to frame your foot. And we're going to take another step back and meet in downward dog again. You can either step or jump, but we're going to come and bring both of our feet to the top of our mats and lift all the way up into mountain pose. We are going to end our practice with our special yoga word, namaste. Namaste means I see the light in you. Today, I also see the bravery in you. I'm going to bring our hands to our heart. On the count of 3, we're going to bow towards each other and say namaste. 1, 2, 3. Namaste.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm so glad to see your smiling faces. Last time, we learned how compassion begins with seeing and welcoming. Today, we learned compassion helps us be brave. Being brave sometimes means we don't know what will happen when we show up. Kind of like someone who drives an ambulance and they're going to rescue someone. They're not sure what's going to happen when they show up. So boy, they do have to be brave. The friend who is paralyzed didn't know if his friends would help him. He didn't know if he would get to see Jesus. The friends didn't know what would happen when they got to the house to see Jesus. Maybe they wouldn't get into the house. Maybe the religious leaders or even Jesus will see them and turn them away. Maybe the friend who is paralyzed wouldn't receive the healing miracle. Think about these questions. How were the friends brave? What do you think? Did they help the paralyzed man? They could have said no and walked away, right? But they helped him. How was the friend who was paralyzed brave?
Trusted his friends.
Say that a little louder.
He trusted his friends.
He trusted his friends. There are other people and things in the story that also showed bravery. Compassion is helping each of them be brave. The friend who is paralyzed had courage that helped him trust his friends and ask Jesus for help. I'd be a little nervous to ask Jesus for help too. The friend's courage made them determined to do all they could to help him. Jesus' courage showed the friend who is paralyzed he was loved and accepted. We can be brave because we are filled with God's love, and God always promises to be with us. When we see people are sad, happy, lonely, scared, or hurt, we can feel it with them, and that's our empathy. That's the first step. To act on our empathy, we follow Jesus and Jesus' example of compassion. Sometimes it is helping someone to do something hard. Sometimes it is being honest about who we are and what we need. Sometimes it is showing love and acceptance for the person in front of us. These things can be hard, but it's okay. We can trust God to give us the courage to be brave with our compassion. Let's close in the same way that we opened today. We're going to place one hand on our head and one on our hearts. We're doing this because compassion happens in our brains, but we often feel it in our hearts. And repeat after me. Dear Jesus,
Dear Jesus,
your compassion always looks like courage.
your compassion always looks like courage.
Strengthen our hearts
Strengthen our hearts
with your bravery
with your bravery
as we risk,
as we risk,
reach out,
and
lift our siblings near and far.
lift our siblings near and far.
Help us keep our eyes on you.
Help us keep our eyes on you.
Amen.
Amen.
And this week, you will be coloring the picture that says, to the neighbor. And all of these pictures will be able to be found on our website. This one's already colored, but I'm going to add it to our tent. Here we go. So, everyone stand up and join us as we sing a song called Brave Enough.
To love. Let's sing together. We are brave enough to love. We are brave enough to show compassion. We are brave enough to listen and tell the truth. We are brave enough to love. We are brave enough to show compassion. We are brave enough to listen and tell the truth. We can be brave. We can be brave because we're filled with love from the bottom of God's heart. We can be brave.